Good morning and welcome to Trading with Larry, joined by Eric Shamalov. After a long July 4th weekend, market up again, up every day, or up every day last week, up about 8% from the low made Sunday night on the bombing on Saturday of Iran, which feels like so many years ago, and it just doesn't even feel like it was a literal event that even happened. It happened. No one talked about it. They were going to overthrow the government. They left the government in. No one's really talking about it much, and the ceasefire is holding, and that looks good, but a lot to talk about today, a lot coming into a period that should be fairly interesting in the market. We had a run up um, into to 4th of July, which we usually see. That came to play. Um, Friday, S&P sold off about 50 handles with very little trading. And now, as you come in on Monday morning, market has crept all the way back up. Tesla looks like an outlier. I want to talk a little bit about that. But there's a lot of stuff under the surface that's starting to look a little interesting. One being the bond market, trading at a 436 yield. The number on Friday blew out the number. I don't know how, but somehow it blew out the number. So jobs are very, very strong. And really, that takes the cut in July off the table, pretty much. I mean, I don't know what the odds are down to. It was like 20, 30%. It's probably less than five. At this point, we're not going to see another jobs number until after the meeting. So even if you get softening, which you may, you're not going to see that till after the meeting. And a lot of these inflation numbers are gone until after the meeting. So really, it's pretty clean until that meeting. So that's off the table. Dollar showing a little resilience today. I think maybe it was because of the comment that Trump made with the BRICS countries, saying that if they get crazy, he's going to tariff them 10% more or whatever. And, tariffs were rolled back as Taco played his game again. We talked about it a lot, that there was no way they could do deals um, in 4 days before the deadline, which is now 2 days, and there's not one deal. There's a lot of deals lined up, but there's no deals that really are complete, except the great big beautiful deal with Vietnam, which no one knows what that is either. So that's sort of where we sit from my perch. Gold looks interesting to the downside. We like that trade still. Oil looks interesting. It was down on an OPEC hike of production, and now it's positive. So I'm going to throw it to you, get your insights, thoughts, and we'll get things going.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Very interesting jobs report. It was another one where the day before you had ADP come out negative, and that gave the Bears something to cling to for about a day, and then the real report comes out better than expected. So you mentioned the rate cut probability. It's actually less than 5% now for July. Should be 0%. They're not cutting rates. I thought it was surprising that the market was pricing in 20% probability of a rate cut for July. That's to me was an impossibility, especially since so many more people in the Fed are questioning whether we should have any rate cuts at all this year. So we head into that July meeting, which is at the end of the month. After that, like you said, the next meeting is in September, then October. So they're really hoping for an end of quarter rate cut. I doubt we're even going to get that if the economy continues in this trajectory, and especially if you start to see the lag in inflation from tariffs. I thought that the last CPI print we had was probably in that last series of inflation readings, probably the last soft inflation readings we're going to see in a while. And yeah, you mentioned commodities, oil up on bad news. So when anything is up on bad news or down on good news, you start to think, okay, is this a counter trend opportunity? I kind of see that in oil. Definitely see that in oil. I see that in rates. I see that in other places in macro. Obviously, euro. You mentioned that earlier. The dollar could reverse here for the summer, and maybe all that happens with the market just continuing momentum. What do you think?
I I'm unsure. If the market corrects a lot, how about if the market went down 10% from here in July? I think that changes the complexion possibility of what could be. I doubt that would happen, but that could throw a little bit of a wrench. Any type of correction from these lofty levels that we're at that we don't look like we're going to correct now on. That being said, there's a lot of undercurrents, and you mentioned, which I never like to do. Um, you mentioned the Fed is done for the year. I don't know how you could even make that assessment because the year has 6 months left, and they thought they were going to get six cuts this year at the beginning of the year, and they're now you're saying zero. And I think it's too hard to determine with this much time left in the year what's going to be at the end of the year. We don't know what if we have a huge job slowdown? What if we have, inflation tame? What if, there's a lot of what ifs. So it's way too early to say what the Fed's going to do for the year. I'm just concentrating right now for myself on this meeting. And, we think it's off the table. And I believe it is, but there is one thing that could rattle markets is if the market has a natural larger than normal type correction where the S&P goes back to 5700, which is, fairly an impossibility for what we're seeing now in the market, right? So um, that that is a possibility, doubtful, but a possibility. So maybe they look at it different. Um, Way too early to say that the dollar reversed course, that it came in 100 pips against the euro. I mean, I don't know if that's actually reversing course and putting in a counter trend trade for the summer. I hope it does because we're short the euro up at these levels, actually at lower levels, and the trade has just been sitting and sitting and sitting. It's on the lower end of the move. But wouldn't you think that if the dollar gets stronger, rates go up, that's very negative for gold in my mind? Although gold is, I call it like the ultimate no trade. I mean, we have literally gone from 3,400 to 3,200 to 3,400 to 250 to 3,270 up to 3,400. And it's like a 100-point range of a no trade. So I don't see anything really coming there. And crude is 67, down from 75 where it ran up to during the panic when you were panicked about the Strait of Hormuz or, whatever it was at that time, which I didn't think would have been a big deal either way. But that never happened along with everything else. And, what I'm seeing is rates want to tick a little bit higher. We're going to see at the 440 level. It's weird. There's no acceleration there. The only market that I feel like has accelerated here is the S&P and the Nasdaq. That's in a full accelerated bull. I think from the low on that Sunday night, which was 59.40 to it's up 400. It rallied over 400 points, right? So that's an 8% move in 7 trading days. That's pretty good. So that's where the action is. Um, Tesla today, I talked about it on the intro. Every time Elon gets into something with Trump, the stock goes down $20. I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't know why what happened matters that much, but but it does. And, every time there's something, the stock goes down. I think it's down $20. I got to take a look at it again. Down $19 because he's trying to create a new party. And then Trump said he's crazy. So I don't know. Every time that happens, the stock has to drop 10% and then rally right back. I mean, we found sort of an anomaly in what we're doing to make a lot of money in Tesla off of these trades that become what we like mean reversion. So when the move is exaggerated to the upside or the downside, it's probably a good area to get involved for a trade. This time, I like the 475. I mean, the 275 area on the stock. I think it could go there now, but that's 20 lower, and the market held Friday's, sell off of 50 points, which isn't a lot. I expect a little bit of downside today. I don't think the market is going to hold up, but, we'll have to see. It's pretty, the Dow is up on the day. We got, what we've had over the last like couple of weeks is what we talked about. Every day they're buying one of the three markets. So today they're buying Dow and selling Nasdaq. Tomorrow they're going to buy Nasdaq and sell Dow. So you got to figure out what these crazy algos are doing, and that's what I'm seeing in the tape. Apple's had a good move up, looks potentially like a short for a trade. Tesla sort of went over the levels. I don't know if there's anything that you're looking at out there.
Well, for Tesla, I think it's it's kind of funny on June 5th when Tesla dropped what was it, like 10% in one day or something, when Musk left the White House and all of this really started between him and Trump. It took 3 days for Tesla to come right back. So today's down move pre-market here on talks of a third party, I kind of find that a little bit okay. Here we go again. The algos took over. I mean, who's really selling on this? I'm not sure if actual human beings are selling on this. So
Yeah,
I'm really
listen,
gonna have to
I'm
expect for it to
calling a
retrace.
timeout.
Would you say this news is worse or better than when he originally left the White House?
Dude, I'm calling a timeout. There are no people in the market. Okay. These are all algos going up against each other, high speed. The public is involved, but they don't realize how little they're involved. They're involved, and then what happens is the algos just jump in front. So yeah, probably people were selling off this news slightly, and then the algos like, wow, we have 700 sell orders and 20 buy orders, so let's take the stock down. So it's run by algos, but it's helped by human beings of being front run by the algorithms and the high speed computers. So we're seeing a lot of that in the tape. I do think it is negative news. Anytime that Trump, you wake Trump up to go after Elon, it's not good. And one day maybe he'll do something crazy like take away all of his subsidy from the US government, which funds all of his businesses, SpaceX included. So, you don't want to mess with the guy that's controlling your money, and he doesn't really care. He's the richest man in the world by far. And he doesn't care. And he's going to basically, I think he's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat in the midterms by back. All he has to do is back three or four people. That's it. And then he swings the house. Okay. It's not hard to do. If he pumps, $1 billion into four guys, they're not losing. No way. No way. That's just too much money. You saw what happened with Donald Trump winning the election, how Elon swung the election for him. So, how hard is it going to be for him to get a couple of these guys to go into what is it, the American Party or whatever he calls it, or um, and then win the election? So I see a lot of that possibility out there, and I think Trump will become scared of that as the midterms, start to go here.
100%. I think. I mean, it's obvious Musk was probably the uh, the incremental thumb on that scale to get Trump elected. So it's. I think the whole situation is pretty crazy. But subsidies are only what, like 5% of Tesla's total revenue. I mean, that was
I
what I was.
don't know.
It dropped the first time. I was like, okay, the thing drops
Yeah,
10,
but I
15.
think it's a lot of public sentiment also. Like many, many, many people love Trump, and they think he's the greatest, and those people are buyers of Tesla cars, and maybe they don't buy cars. I mean, listen, having that uncertainty is just not good. It doesn't matter what percentage; it's the perception more than the percentage that matters. So. That stock could go lower here, maybe down to 275. I'm looking at it on a chart, maybe even a little bit lower than that. It came up from April from like 220, 215. And then the other day, it was funny. We were watching the stock. It had negative news off of Trump. And then they came out with some sales number that was actually not that good, and the stock ran 20. You know, 20 seems to be the number for Tesla on a daily basis. Goes up and down 20. Once it gets outside of that, it becomes a little bit more scary. So we'll keep an eye on Tesla. Like that to be bought at lower levels. Probably does go a little bit lower from here. Apple's had a really good run, missed that trade. I think it was in an admission that they missed the whole AI move, and now they're going to hire people.
Yeah, they're outsourcing their AI, and the stock goes wild. That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like the
and
market rewarding them for getting out of its own way.
yeah, it is. And we have to respect it, keep an eye on it, and we'll see moving forward. How this thing heats up, and see if there's another leg. But it's run up about $15-$17, so just keep an eye on that one. Not a lot of numbers that I see even for the week ahead. There's like really no numbers this week. Zero. There's a wholesale trade number. There's initial claims which come out every week, and then there's a budget number on Friday. But other than that, it's a clean slate calendar for the entire week. It's weird. I haven't seen anything this light. So I guess the inflation numbers will come the week after. We'll get a better read on CPI, PPI, Michigan, etc. coming. But this week, kind of quiet. Um, Markets made multiple new highs. Very light sell off today. And, you know, I'm thinking, lower, but I always think that, and I've been wrong. So I'm treading lightly lower. We're running short positions here, but what I want people to understand is define risk. And it's funny, we were looking over one of our products, our best product, and we've had 27 trades this year. 24 have been winners, and literally we're sitting in like three or four losers, right? And we haven't given a lot of trades, but still, it makes you feel weird when for a month and a half, 2 months, you haven't really done anything or done anything successful. But being in the business for 40 years, we've had stretches like this, and the key is discipline, not making a lot of trades, sitting tight, letting the market come to you. There's going to be a lot more opportunity this year, right? I'm out on the limb saying that the market is going to go back down negative on the year, go below 5,700, and we'll see what happens, because I just think there's too much uncertainty and too much positive action priced into the markets at these levels that it's priced for utter perfection in multiple ways. So I want to, remain cautious and just tell people out there that subscribe to my services and that watch me here, we give ideas all the time, on Trading with Larry. Always we do, okay? But a lot of times we're just giving them out. We may not trade them, but they're there for people to take advantage of. But we want to remain, overly cautious for our products here. And, I feel like there could be a sea change here. We're going to have to wait. Maybe we get, like a little bit aggressive if the market closed weak today to get a couple of down days in a row would be, outside the box, but a possibility. So, we're watching that. We're watching the dollar. We're watching bonds.
Well, Larry, I just want to
And
share this as you're talking about the market. I wanted to share this, and it was this time around last year where you had the Japanese carry trade start to break in the middle of July. You started to see some algos start to break down in the middle of July. I don't think we're fully there yet, but what I will tell you is that both the Nasdaq, this is the Nasdaq that you're looking at, now in overbought territory. But here's the funny thing: a month and a half ago, it was also in overbought territory, and the market still went up another 5, 6, 7, 8%. But it's getting a little bit, technically eyebrow raising. Let's just put it that way. And I'm bullish, and I'm kind of like, hey, this is. But I'm only bullish until like the end of the quarter. I think when I think the Fed and the market are gonna be at odds with each other a
wait,
little bit.
you
But
don't you don't think the 40% up move is enough? The biggest up move in the history of the market in the shortest time. You don't think that is an issue? You're still bullish?
in a microcosm, yeah, 40% move is enough. Um,
Dude, it's probably one of the quickest turnarounds in the history of the market. We'll have to do some research on that, but it's got to be up there.
yeah.
And it
All right.
happened in a month and a half, and then it
So
accelerated and blew everyone out of the water on the short side, and then continued to go. And that's where we're sort of at right now.
well, it's something for the bears now to cling to. If people ask them why are you bearish, they can say, "Hey, the RSI is now overbought." So there's another data point for you guys. I don't know if it's going to play out, but if I wouldn't be trying to get massively long here either.
Oh, dude, you're giving really unbelievable
Like
insight.
that,
You wouldn't
I
you
know.
wouldn't get massively long here.
No,
That's
I wouldn't get
really nice.
massively long.
That's that's good. I don't think that, I would think there's a shot to get massively short. We're short across the board today. Um, we felt a lot better on Friday when the market was down 50, and I was thinking maybe we could go down 100, but the market just doesn't give you that at all. But it will. Listen, the problem that people don't realize is that a percent in the S&P now is 63 handles. If we go down 63 handles, people are melting. Okay. And that's 1%. What if we had one of your quote unquote two standard deviation move where you
Oh
always blow
boy,
up?
that's a 100 point move.
Dude, then you'll
That's
blow
right.
up, dude. Then I'll be nursing you off the
People will
freaking
freak out.
ledge. You'll be
I was
like,
freaking out on Friday. I was like, why is the market falling on like a closed session? It felt a little, but we're right back already. We're basically
oh,
back
dude, they ran the market up Friday on air, on nothing, on no volume,
on Thursday. On
on
Thursday.
Thursday, right on Thursday, and it's ridiculous what has happened. The bottom
Well, the
line
jobs
is,
number came in good. Why can't good news be good for the market
dude,
sometimes?
I'm not debating good news or bad news. Job number comes out at 8:30. The S&P was up 10 handles. Okay. They digest that news within 15 or 20 minutes. The market was up less than 20 points, probably 12. Okay. Why were we up 50? They already had that number. That's called a jam job on no volume. The move didn't happen off the jobs number. We were barely up. The number came out, we were barely up, and then the market just melted up the whole day, in stair step like this. So that was a mark job. And today they're going to take the mark job out. I just don't know how much they're going to take out. I don't know if they're going to take all 50 points out. I don't know if they're going to take more and take 70, or, if we're going to hold in here. That, is yet to be determined. But looking around the board, I just don't see things on the external looking that good. Maybe I'm missing something. I don't think it looks that good. I think bonds are a big problem, and they're not moving yet, but they can start moving. They're gonna have to fund this new bill with more debt, massively putting us in debt. Okay, this thing could move quickly past 450, and once that happens, that changes a lot. Again, markets headed.
Do you think the bond has reacted to this tax bill or no?
Yeah, I think a little of the reaction was the jobs number and the bill on Friday. Big backup in yields, big. We kept coming down to like 421. Now we're away from that at 436. We haven't gotten much above 440, so we have to see if we get above 440 here. And
But I think bonds went up on that news. Why would they have gone up?
What do you mean bonds went up? Yields went up off that news. Yields went up. Bond prices went down on Friday. We're at
So
$436.
do you
Pull up
think
a bond
yields
chart. This is
continue?
the high yield in the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yep.
We were here. Pull it up. We were trending lower on yield, higher on bond prices, and then on Friday we came in pretty hard. And the other day we came in, I believe.
Here's the
So
30. Here's the 30-year.
yeah. So look at that. We were coming in, and then bang. Yields higher. Um,
So do you think this move in yields to the upside was directly a reaction to the jobs bill to the tax bill?
No, no, I don't think a direct. I think it was more the jobs number was much hotter. I
Right.
think that's thrown a little bit into it, but I don't think yet it's been priced in. And I think they're going to have
Right.
to. I think they're going to
Exactly.
have to issue more debt, a lot more debt. And the thing is, you don't have the buyers anymore. Where are the buyers? China's not buying. I don't think a lot of these countries are buying. And something that we haven't gotten into, which I want to talk about,
So
is
like this gap up, this gap up in yields right here. This was the jobs number. This wasn't, and you're right. This wasn't the tax bill. And so I'm wondering when is the market going to start pricing in that tax bill?
um, I think it's pricing it in. It's pricing it in now a little bit. But I don't. I see a lot of things under the surface. I just see the market just going up on no volume. I'm a little nervous today. I'm not nervous because I'm short, but I'm thinking we might test that overnight low of the other. You know, I think it was 60 to 80, 85. So that's like 50 lower. So another 20, 25 lower. I would keep an eye on that. I think you can sell some strength today. I think it feels a little bit different. Um, but let's talk about something that I love that's dear to my heart is the tariffs. Trump tacoed again. And you know what's funny? None of these countries came to make a trade deal except Vietnam, your favorite. But none of these real countries made a trade deal. Okay, why do you think that is?
It's there's gonna be a baseline tariff rate. So,
That's not the question I asked you. I asked you
well, that's part of
why
the
are
answer.
countries
It's part of
not
the answer
lined up?
because they're not. If they know that no matter what they offer to Trump, that their tariff rate isn't going to come down that much, doesn't that disincentivize them to have these
No,
negotiations?
no, because their tariff rate is going to go up,
If you
not
know the
down.
result is going to be bad, why would
Well,
you
why would it be bad? It's going to be
negotiate
what it's going to. If you
in
do a
good
deal
faith?
with him, it's going to be what it's going to be. The deal is going to be what it's going to be. What I'm telling you is the EU has no. Listen, even in England, like Land Rover is a makes tons of cars. They don't make any cars in the United States. They make them all in Britain, and they don't want to have anything to do with the United States. They're barely shipping cars because they can't deal with it. So how are any of these countries going to deal with a 20, 10, 30% tariff? There's not that much in the products to handle that. So they can't even make a deal if they want to. And they figure by waiting, it's benefiting. What do you think is going to happen in August? You know what's going to happen in August. It's going to go to December or November. It's going to keep going and going and going. And he's never going to pull the trigger because if he wanted to pull the trigger, he would have pulled the trigger, don't you think?
Yeah.
Why not?
So we're
Why
getting
is he
tariffs
rolling back the
regardless.
tariffs now? They've had 3 months to negotiate deals with every country, and no country has negotiated a deal. Vietnam, okay? The EU hasn't, China hasn't, none of these countries have a comprehensive deal. Even the UK doesn't. So the facts are that they got in a room and they freaked out and they're like, we don't have any deals. Where is the EU? I'm mad at Canada. Where's Canada? Where's Mexico? I mean, come on. It's pretty easy to do a deal with Canada, don't you think? They're right next door to us. They can't do a deal with us. They can't do a deal because they can't live with the deal that they want to do. So they'd rather just sit out, you know, on the vine and just wait it out. And that's what's happened. And then now,
Right.
you know,
While they're waiting it out, they're still getting tariffed, though.
so
Right.
what? They're getting tariffed at a much lower rate and they keep passing on the lower rate tariff. Okay, they haven't put the full Monty on him. He said
That's
he
what I'm
was
saying.
going to.
If the result, if you know the result is going to be bad, why even go through it in
Well,
the
what are you
first place?
talking about? Why lower the tariffs? Dude, he came out with his billboard in April, all the things on it, what they were going to do, and he took it all away. They didn't do one deal. Why did he have to take it away? Why doesn't he max tariff him right now? What is he afraid of? It's what I said to you at the very beginning. It's a tariff on us, and that's why he can't do it. That's the only reason why he cannot do it. He knows Besson told him this is a tariff on us. Okay. If we're tariffing goods coming in from China, that makes your goods worth a lot more money. And there's very many companies in this country that can only manufacture products in China. They don't make, silk products in other countries or whatever. They're stuck. So the bottom line is to change this up is going to take years. So I would just say, the tariffs are not going to be impacted on us or on other countries, which would be on us anytime in the near future. And it's weird that we're here and that we have to now wait another month to figure out what's going to happen. And, you know, they did a deal with Vietnam. You don't even know what the deal. No one even cares or knows what the deal is. They didn't parade out. No one's shaking hands. These are all deals that people are just like throwing up like tea leaves and like, okay, we'll sign it, whatever. So I think that tariffs have not, really, really been seen. And I think it could come back around to haunt people in the next 2 months. And
In what way?
what do you mean by them basically inflicting much higher tariffs? Because
So I
Trump,
think I think in a couple of months, what the market is going to see is that lag effect of inflation from tariffs, and I think the market doesn't care about it right now, and probably rightfully so, because the inflation data hasn't shown any effect at all. It's shown the opposite. So I think what happens is the market looks at this psychologically, and it's like, oh well, another broken bearish narrative, right? Let's go, that, and that creates that incremental um, bid in the market. I think like I said before, what we're going to see is, that will have a lag effect, and once inflation starts to come in, all these readings start to come in higher than expected, people are going to start to remember that. But I think even then, it's not even going to be, oh, we're going to have all this inflation from tariffs. It's going to be more like, okay, well, the Fed is not going to cut because they can't.
Well, let me do this. Can you show me the straddle price for today? That's what we look at to gauge market
Yeah, I don't
movement.
have my options data feed for some reason this morning, so I
What?
can't help you.
Come
Yeah,
on,
I'm trying to figure it out
they
by
shut
the
off
open.
your Bloomberg? What happened?
No, no, I have that. I don't know. Just my Oprah quotes are gone. I got to figure that out
Alright,
for
I'll
today.
have to
Maybe
go
there's
on
a
and see
glitch.
what it looks like. I'll go on. Let's see. Um,
But I would guess 25.
I'm going to tell you if I can get on my screen here. Um, what the hell?
25 is my bet for
Yeah,
today.
well, I don't know if I'm going to have it for you. Um, at the money, we'll go with. No, it's a little bit higher. Um,
Where are we at?
that's probably about. No, it's low. 24.
There you go.
24. Yeah, but I think they're going to lose because I think we could go down here a little bit. So I wouldn't mess with it. Maybe I'm going to sell some upside maybe today. I just think the move has been very very extreme and definitely needs to come in a little bit. Um, so we kind of know they're not looking for a big move. We know that, but let's kind of wrap up here. Touching on the dollar, still in no man's land, but dollar looking a little bit stronger for the first time in a few weeks. Again, bond yields in the middle of nowhere at 435, and no trade there. Oil shook off down this morning about a buck 50, now slightly higher, and gold down about 30 bucks. I think gold goes lower. I'm going to set up a trade there again by selling some out of the money call spreads, not buying options in that one. I think that's a better way to do it. Bonds look interesting, but still a no trade, dollar no trade, crude a no trade. S&P is leaning short. Taking a look at some equities, I think some of these secondary stocks are primed to maybe come in a little bit. And, that's sort of what I see from my perch here. I'm feeling a little more confident than I've been for a bit. So hopefully we can have more than one down day. Today, I don't know if you consider it a down day, although the Dow, which was up
Well,
on the day,
you shaved, so you definitely think
shade because
Friday
we were
will be
down
down.
on Friday, baby. I took Friday as the down day, got rid of the
But
beard.
technically, hold on. Technically, Fridays is combined with today's session, is it not?
Mm-mm. I think it doesn't count as a full session, but it was down on all indexes, so I shaved. And what's interesting is the Dow is holding up this morning, is no longer holding up. I mean, it's holding up way better than Nasdaq, but it was green and now it's down about 70. S&P down 23 and Nasdaq down 120. And I'm hoping, to report tomorrow, market had a weak day and we could, get a couple of down days in a row here. So that's what I'm looking for and playing for. I'm not being aggressive. Again, using defined risk out there. I think it's important. Do it through options, either spreads or outright buying of puts and calls. Again, this is what I'm seeing. I'm going to send it to you to wrap us today because we're running fairly close. We have a couple of minutes, but I'll let you wrap us and we'll be back tomorrow with more insight and hopefully good trade ideas.
Yeah, so one of my favorite trades and setups is the day after a holiday shortened trading session, which we had on Friday. Um, I'm always leaning for a reversion trade from that session, from uh, the holiday shortened session. There's usually zero volume, uh, or at least real volume on those kinds of days. So whenever you get a big move or close to a big move on a holiday shortened session, the next trading day where you have the regular session, it tends to revert. I think we're seeing a little bit of that now. You're not going to want to hear that, I know, because you're angling short, but I've noticed that in both directions. So that's something to keep an eye on. I would say if Larry's right about today and the market does fall, um, and you know, some of these overbought conditions, I think, in the market could result in a couple of down days here to start the week. But I don't know. Usually the setup is after a holiday shortened session, you go the other way. So we fell
Uh,
on Friday. Maybe we go up today.
Well, I don't think Friday counts. Now you're counting Friday as a day. You've been saying the whole podcast Friday's not a day. Now you're saying it's a day. Friday is not a day. So the last day was Thursday. That was an up day. That's the pre-holiday trade. Market came
I
in
don't
a
know.
little bit. This is what I'm expecting potentially as a setup. Market choppy today. Find some buyers, some sellers, maybe close lower than this or in this area. Um, Potentially could close a little higher than this, but we get a down day and then followed by another down day that's more significant, and that creates the seed change. We don't have the seed change off of one trading day, so be careful out there. Watch the market; it looks heavy, and we'll be back tomorrow, and hopefully we get some good trading. I don't like selling puts today at all. I would look to the call side. I wish the market opened a little higher; it would be a better spot. But right now, that's where we're sitting, and we'll be back to everyone tomorrow with more insight and updates on our trading. And I wish everyone good luck today, and let's go.